Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday, it's May 9th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And you had to be a little patient early on. We didn't really get a good entry till around 8:30 here. Once 8:30, we had several in this tight range. And earlier I had this up here, and this is basically a perfect midline right here. That's how I got that line in between, and it fits real well. But as this thing got tighter, I moved this down. So you would have been better off playing it here. And notice that you got that failed break lower here, and that turns out to be that important low of the day. And if you can catch that, look at it go. And this is just a little small bar here with, I think it's 3 ticks or something. So it's a real low risk entry as well. So just something to think about. I don't have this trend line, but there's a little trend coming down there, and we get it close outside, and we really got 2 or 3 attempts to go lower there, and it finally bounced. Put this line on there as well. But you had to be a little patient and wait on this thing to kind of get going this morning. This is really close to being blue. Notice you're working down. We get a clear close outside, a big move down to a new low, and you get this little reversal bar. And we're a little bit away from the EMA. So generally you're better off to wait on that higher low. I like to wait on that higher low when I can. But a lot of times, you want to catch these moves where you can. And this is a good point where you might catch the next leg up right here. I'd measure this leg, and a lot of times that's where your correction will find support at about a 50% move back, 50 to 60%, and then you'll start that next leg up. So, you were looking for, once it started going higher here, you might catch that. Of course, it turns out to be over here, and you can see we went considerably higher than that as the day went on. This was really turned out to be a nice trend here in the afternoon. So it started late morning, so mid to late morning. But I like that trade. Again, I made it green because you're better off to wait on that higher low, but we really don't get a higher low till way up here. We push through the MA, we pull back. The key here is making sure you got enough room before you get to this last high here. Of course, you got one here, but this is the more important one. And you got just enough really to get out there. So I like that one. And really, you're hoping this continues on, like I said before. It doesn't. It goes up here, and we kind of find resistance across here. And you get a lower high right here and a nice bearish bar. I like going short right there. And again, maybe now you're hoping we ride it all the way down, but it just comes back down, and of course we bounce right off this same low here, and you've got a low here already. So this is a double bottom, but it's really almost, you could consider that a double test. It's close enough. It's a second entry long with a nice bullish bar. Notice that new high, first entry, second entry. So I like entering there. You do get a higher low right here. So if you're not in already, enter here. And I like adding on there if you're still in this first trade. And we move on up, and of course we find resistance here. So now we got a double test of this level from here, and you got a nice bearish bar right there. And actually this should be over here. And you get a couple of closes outside new high, and that's that double test. Relatively small bar. I like going short there. You get a lower high here, so if you're not in yet, you could enter here, and if you could add on here if you like. And again, you figure now it's probably just going down here to test these lows. It bounces. We got a low, you get a first entry, and then you're moving up, and you get this actually went higher here and turns and goes out the lower side. You get a second entry short right there. And that turns out to be another nice trade. And this time it doesn't bounce, it shoots straight on down. And actually I would have had this back this up a little bit right here. And notice how it gaps over that right there. You'll see that a lot. You get a lower high here, but of course you don't want to be going short way down here that far away from the EMA. You'd actually be looking to try to go long here on a failed break lower. And you do get a close outside. You tried to go lower multiple times and you get this really small bar here. Again, you could almost argue for that to be blue, but again, you're better off to wait on the lower high. You get one here, but it's right into the EMA. You get your failed second entry short here. I didn't mark this one. It is back inside the range. It is off the EMA, but we're not back to the trend line yet. And it looks like this is the upper side of the trend channel at that point. So I wasn't crazy about that one. You could argue for it to be green, really, and it still would have worked. But there's typically a chance that it comes back and breaks a little bit lower, trying to come back to the trend line. And you don't actually get back to the trend line until here. And you might look at this like a double bottom, so first entry, second entry short. But either way, you've got a double test of this low here bouncing right off the trend line. And so I like treating that in pretty much like a trap, a failed second entry short right at the trend line and the EMA and support here. And you get one more little pullback right here that bounces off the trend line once again. And there's a little hidden second entry in there. But really, you just want to make sure you got room to get out here. You don't know it's going to take off like that. But in this case, it finally does. It takes on off. And off it goes. And then you still got to be worried about here because this was the overnight highs. You want to be, you have to be a little bit concerned that you might bounce there. And this is a double bottom, so there is a failed second entry short here. And it is a little breakout pullback for this area over here. But I'm not crazy about it. At that point, you don't know that this is a midline. This looks like it's overshooting, and you could easily get trapped being that far away from the EMA. But when it pushes on up an equal distance, and notice how it back turns down, and then we actually break lower here and turn higher. I like going long right there just because now you can probably say, hey, this is a midline and we're bouncing off of it. This is a strong trend. There's a good chance we may make another leg up similar to that one. So I'd measure that leg just to see where that gets you to. You can see that gets you right up here about where we went to before it corrected again. We still continued much higher, but that gets you really close within a couple of ticks there. So it takes on off, and then we pull back here again, and you really get, this is not a great setup, but notice you're coming down. You get a first entry, and you don't tick lower, but you get a lower high here. So that's still a second entry long, right at the midline, right at the EMA. So you may consider that one. I would still put my safety stop below the swing low, which would go down here, but your entry would be one tick above that. Or you may let it break higher and come back a couple of ticks, just see if you get a little better entry. If you draw your little trend line right here, you can see that you really get a close outside here, even though you don't tick lower, you get that lower high. So, and this has been a strong trend. So you never know what'll happen. And you get a new low there, you're moving up, first entry, second entry short, bounces off the EMA, plus there's a second entry long right there. New high, first entry, pullback, second entry. So I like that one. And that was good for a little bit more in a scalp, and then it sells off. You get your first close outside this trend line. Move up, you get your higher low right there, nice bullish bar. I like going long there. Just to see if you get that new high. Usually you'll get that new high, especially on a trend. You're going to attempt to make a new high, but we don't end up getting it there. Doesn't matter. It was an easy scalp, and that got you into the 2 o'clock hour. So again, it was just a really tight range here until we had this failed break lower, and these are where I like to catch these moves, and off it goes. Oh, and again, this one is really close to being blue, and this one is too. But this was the first real confirmation, third touch of the trend line right here. You could argue that that one touched first, but you definitely don't want to be going long way up here above that bar. You want something closer back here to the EMA that gives you a good start right off the trend line and EMA or whatever. So But anyway, that pretty much does it for today. Not much else to talk about. This was just, we were in a range really until we had this failed break lower, and then off it went. It trended higher for the rest of the day. So I would call this, it's not really a range day. This turned out to be a trend day, but we did range a good bit of the early part of the morning, first couple of hours anyway, and then it was trend all the way. So I'd definitely call this a trend day. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, so that'll wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays. But hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again tomorrow, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.